The UN High Commissioner for Refugees is visiting Sudan, where the world's worst humanitarian crisis is unfolding. Since the civil war began in April last year, more than 9 million people have been forced from their homes. 18 million people are facing severe hunger, including millions of children under 5 who are suffering from acute malnutrition. 2.9 million of those are in Darfur in the west, where the World Food Programme says it's only been able to deliver limited amounts of aid. Filiipo Grandi is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees for the UN Refugee Agency. He joins us live via Skype from White Nile region in Sudan. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Let me first ask you for your impression now and your thoughts, having visited and seen firsthand the scale of suffering.
I came here to this interview straight from meeting about 200 families from the state of North Kordofan. This is a state neighboring where I am now in White Nile state. And the stories, once again, I heard from them, were dismal. Fighting in their villages, people killed, women threatened and abused, and endless stories of displacement, people fleeing to the mountains, then to another village to escape the fighting or different type of militias, and then trying to seek refuge in relatively safer areas of the country. This is a state in the southern part of Sudan, bordering actually the state of South Sudan, and the estimate is that there's anywhere between 1 and 2 million people here displaced from other parts of the country. And the front line, you mentioned Darfur. We know that Khartoum, the capital, is an embattled zone, but the front lines seem to be expanding. These people, as I said, the people I met today came from Kordofan. This is yet another region of Sudan. So this crisis is not only huge, is not only largely neglected by the international community, but seems to be expanding with increasing impact on the very innocent civilians who are paying the price.
When you say it's expanding, sir, is Sudan on the verge, on the brink of unprecedented famine, something that's been talked about?
That's, of course, another consequence of the war, because all agricultural activities in the areas that are embattled, so Darfur, parts of Kordofan, Khartoum, Jazeera state, this is a very big part of the country, including some of the most fertile areas. Agricultural activities are gravely limited or hampered by fighting. So inevitably, people do not have access to agricultural products, to food, essentially. And the humanitarian operation, you mentioned the World Food Programme, and the whole humanitarian effort has great difficulty having access to those areas of conflict. It's also very, very dangerous. You know, I came here to this area, which is relatively safe for the time being, from South Sudan. That's the only way I could access here. And it is 20, 30 kilometers from the front line. So you can see how volatile the situation is and how dangerous it is for the lives of those that, especially those that can't even move, that are stuck in war areas.
Well, how long before, sir, we might see scenes, the world might see scenes of people starving to death, of famine that the world has never seen before?
Well, this is very difficult to tell. We are negotiating, all of us in the humanitarian community, with the parties, with the Sudanese army, with the rapid support forces, to have more access and to bring urgently more food to the people in need. If that is becomes more possible, if we succeed in these negotiations, and in the last few weeks there's been a little progress, but this has to be accelerated, then we can hope to limit the damages that you've been talking about. Otherwise, I think it's going to happen very quickly. You know, one other factor that is natural, if you wish, is that
Sorry, so when
we're
you say very
entering the
quickly,
rainy
I'm
season.
sorry to press you, but what are we talking about? Weeks, months? What does your
It
clock
could
look
be
like?
weeks. It could be weeks. It could be weeks. And what I was going to say is that we have an additional obstacle now, which is the rainy season, which in a country with very poor infrastructure makes transport by car, by road, by truck, very, very difficult in many parts of the country. So all of this adds up. It's a perfect storm and can be extremely dangerous for the people we're talking about.
Thank you so much, Filiipo Grandi, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, for taking the time to come and talk to us while on your trip there in Sudan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.